This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. As everyone knows, Virginia Republicans got absolutely obliterated last year, and really, there's no other way to put it. It was a complete disaster for the GOP. They got crushed up and down the ballot for every race, not just for governor, but for lieutenant governor, for attorney general, for the state legislator. It was an utter disaster for the GOP. And with such a big win for Democrats, it gave them a mandate to do whatever the hell they want in Virginia for the next couple of years. And it's pretty clear, yeah, Democrats are taking full advantage of the power they were given. Just look at all the crazy laws they're passing. They're trying to essentially legalize crime. They're trying to ban a lot of guns. It is crazy what's going on here. And again, we're not talking about a state like California that's D plus 20 or whatever. Back in 24, it voted for Harris, but by only 5 points. Yet from just one election, one disaster for Republicans, it gave Democrats complete control over the Commonwealth. And now they're pushing absolutely crazy stuff every single day. And I do think it's going to hurt them eventually. But right now, there's nothing Republicans can really do to stop the insanity. They really can't do anything because Democrats have a trifecta. And I know the Supreme Court of Virginia is kind of weird. I do think it's technically a moderate Republican majority. I think it's kind of weird in Virginia. But either way, Democrats, they essentially control everything in the Commonwealth. But there is a chance for the GOP in a couple of months to, at the bare minimum, limit this insanity to just the state level. Because there is a big referendum coming up over redistricting. Everybody knows about this. Democrats are pushing through a brand new congressional map for 2026. And look at this right here. This is the current map versus the proposed one. The current one is 6-5 Democrat, which I would argue is fair. This is a fairly fair map. It's not crazy. And Harris, she won Virginia by 5 or 6 points. So you would expect, yeah, Democrats would have a slight advantage in the congressional map. And there are a couple competitive seats like Virginia's second. But either way, it is mostly a fair map. No one's really disputing that. But the proposed one, it clearly favors Democrats. It's not even a debate. It's not even a discussion. Yeah, this clearly benefits Democrats significantly. You go from 6-5 Democrat, which again, Virginia voted for Harris by 5 or 6 points. So yeah, you would expect it to lean Democrat at the congressional level. Yeah, a 6-5 map in the current map right now is fair. It is mostly fair. No one's really disputing that. You go from that to 10-1. That's a big deal. You're talking about not just a couple competitive seats like Virginia's second. You could argue maybe even Virginia's first. I wouldn't really say that, but even then, fine. We're talking about Virginia's fifth. It is a safe Republican seat and it flips. Same thing with Virginia's 6. And that's the issue for the GOP. It does not just slightly boost Democrats. It gives them a clear advantage in Virginia. It goes from 6-5 to 10-1. And if they get this referendum to pass, there's a good chance that Democrats, they flip the House this year. I still think right now they're the favorites anyways. But if they get this map to pass, more than likely, they're going to win the House. They're already the favorites right now, but you're talking about a couple seats that should be safe Republican flipping. That's a big deal. Republicans, they need this referendum to fail if they want a realistic pathway to win later this year. Of course, we got Florida. They're going to redraw their maps eventually. We don't know to what extent, but either way, it looks like right now Republicans, they desperately need this referendum to fail. If they want to retain their House majority later this year, they need it to fail. And I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I really think there is a serious chance this actually goes down. Now, let's be clear. I am not saying this is an official prediction. I'm not saying that Democrats are going to lose for sure. I think right now, Democrats are the favorites to win the referendum. But I think right now, there is growing evidence that there is a chance this could actually fail. I know how ludicrous that sounds. After all, back in 2025, Democrats won Virginia by 15 points. It was a blowout. Even the attorney general race, which we thought that Mears was going to win because Jay Jones had some bad scandals, he said some awful stuff, he still lost by like 6. It was a bad year for the GOP. But despite these results, I still think Democrats could actually lose this referendum. For starters, a quick reminder that back in 2024, Trump lost Virginia by only 5 to 6%, not by 25 points, not by 30 points. What happened in 2025 was really bad for Democrats, but did everybody kind of forget that Trump lost Virginia in 24 by only 5 points? Now, you can argue it's gotten more Democrats since 2024. That's probably true to a certain extent, but still, at least at the federal level, in 24, Trump did pretty good, especially compared to Winsome Sears or even Jason Miraz, which I didn't think was possible, but he got 46% of the vote. Harris got below 52%. That's an important thing to note. Harris got 52% of the vote. Trump got 46%. Well, in 2025, Winsome Sears got just over 42% of the vote, while Spanberger got 57.5% of the vote. Okay, so you would think with these numbers that Spanberger was able to flip so many Trump voters. That's what happened here. She won a bunch of Trump voters, and Sears lost a bunch of them. And while it is true to a certain point that, yeah, some Trump voters did in fact vote for Spanberger, here's the issue that some people kind of are ignoring. Look at the exit polls. And I know exit polls are not perfect, but back in 2025, the electorate was actually 51% Harris voters and only 42% Trump voters. Yeah, a Harris plus 9 electorate in 2025. That is a big deal because Winsome Sears, she only got 42% of the vote. So basically, the entire swing, or at least a large chunk of it in 25, it came from turnout. A bunch of Trump voters, they had no reason to vote. And that's why Sears only got 42% of the vote. And that's why Jason Miraz, he went down. If Trump voters actually voted at the same rates, or even just slightly lower, Sears would have probably still lost by a big margin, but Jason Miraz probably would have won. And Sears probably would have lost by like 10 points. Pretty bad still, but not as bad as D plus 15. That's the issue that Democrats, or I should say Republicans, had in 2025. Trump voters did not vote. They were not enthusiastic for Sears. Which again, it makes sense because Trump voters, they're usually lower propensity types. They don't usually vote in most elections. Compare that with Harris voters. They're more likely to vote. And that's why with these elections, the higher their turnout usually is better for the GOP now. They need more people to vote. And Democrats also had the added bonus of the government shutdown happening at the same time, which was a huge win for them because a lot of voters, they voted Democrat because of shutdown. That jacked up Democrat turnout even further. While Republicans, Winsome Sears offered nothing for them. She gave them no real reason to actually vote. Even though there were plenty of reasons why people should have voted, she offered them not a single real reason. And that's why Trump voters, they did not vote. So already, what happened at 25, could that happen again? Sure. Maybe that's the beginning of a safe Democrat Virginia down the line. Maybe that's true. But right now, this looked more like a turnout issue. And already, that's not the same set of circumstances that we're dealing with today. Because unlike what happened in 25, there is a reason for Trump voters to actually show up and vote. This map right here is why. I really think Democrats, they went way too far pushing this map. You go from a 6-5 Democrat map, it gives Republicans like 4 or 5 House seats consistently, to Republicans are lucky to win maybe 2 in a best case scenario. Maybe a couple down the line if the gerrymander fails, that could possibly happen, sure. But Democrats, they clearly gain a ton. And Republicans, they're essentially stuck with only 1 seat in a essentially a 55-45 state. That is crazy. That is insane that Virginia voters, they potentially have to deal with this. So now you give these voters a reason to vote because a lot of them, they're going to be stuck in safe Democrat seats because of this gerrymander. They go from having a Republican congressman to a Democrat that does not represent them at all. So I do think that's going to help Republicans a bit more because now you have a real reason to get these people out to vote. Now, will Republicans succeed at doing that? We shall see. But there are signs that Republican voters, they're voting. Look at this map right here. Look at this. The counties in green are voting at higher rates than those in purple. And notice a trend. The areas voting at higher rates right now, again, this could change, by significant margins are Republican areas. These are areas that really did not vote in 25 and was a big reason why Sears lost by a big margin. And a lot of them, not all of them, of course, but a good chunk of them, they're voting. Meanwhile, Democrat areas, namely a place like Prince William County, look at this. They're not voting. They're just not voting at all. And there's this scatter plot right here, which proves that the areas that are much more Republican, they are clearly turning out at way higher rates. Not just by a small margin. We're talking about a pretty clear trend. The more Republican the area is, the more likely it is to be voting right now. And I really think it's because I think Democrats went way too far. They went way too far, not just with this map, but with all the crazy shit they're proposing. And a great example is the gun ban that they're trying to push, which, by the way, is already a very crazy proposal. But on top of it, apparently, this gun ban does not apply to any member of the General Assembly. Yeah, you heard that right. So this gun ban that's very strict and insane apparently has exemptions in it that exempts members of the General Assembly. And I really thought Democrats in Virginia would have learned by now that even in Virginia, gun bans, gun restrictions, however they want to frame it, is not popular. It is not popular anywhere. But for whatever reason, Democrats keep pushing the same shit every single year. And it never goes well for them at all. It always backfires somehow. It fails miserably. And you know who this appeals to? Nobody, except the most radical, deranged Democrats. That's it. That's the only type of voter that agrees with this. The average voter does not support this shit. Every time Democrats try to pull the same stunt anywhere, it somehow always either fails miserably or it blows up in their face. Every single time. It never works. So now they think we're going to do the same thing all over again. Again, obviously the referendum is over redistricting, but there are a lot of people in Virginia that are furious right now over crap like this. And they may vote, and a lot of them are in fact voting at much higher rates. Again, this is not an official prediction. I still think right now the referendum does pass, but there's a chance the Republicans can pull this off. They just got to be more motivated to focus on this race. I don't get why they're kind of just ignoring it a little bit. Like, seriously, you have a chance here. There are a lot of voters in Virginia that are opposed to this insanity, and they would not support this map. But you got to make the case to them. Don't do what you did in California. I know that's a different set of circumstances, but still, you did next to nothing in California. You promised to spend $100 million. You spent nothing. It was pathetic. It was a failure. I know it's California, but this is Virginia. You have a chance here. And despite a lot of the inaction by the GOP, a lot of voters are voting. And it seems like it's voters that benefit the GOP far more than Democrats. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.